Old friend Monitor and Garroway are host right now to the very likes of Miss Marilyn Monroe. I wonder if I'm scared of you. Are most men scared of you? I'm not sure whether I should be frightened of you or not.
No, nobody's scared of me.
I don't know. I bet a lot of guys are scared of you, though, because you're such an institution now. Really you are. You're a kind of a national possession. Do you feel that you belong to the nation as a whole?
I don't know quite what you mean by that.
I
live here.
That'll do it very nicely. I heard you were smart, but I didn't know.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Don't let me fool you. I'm not.
You know, you have a reputation as among the great mass of people. I think it's probably the most beautiful blonde in the world, but a kind of a dumb girl because you're a beautiful blonde. And blondes and dumbness seem to go together. I think it all started with maybe with gentlemen prefer blondes.
You know, it's interesting that people associate, if you happen to have blonde hair, you know, naturally or not naturally, however, or if you're not out of shape in some way, you're absolutely dumb. I mean, you're considered dumb. I don't know why that is. I think it's a very limited view.
It isn't true, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter what the person, what they look like, what color hair they have.
Nonsense.
Or if they happen not to be out of shape. I mean, my time's to come. Gravity catches up with all of us.
Yes. Slowly, but I'm afraid inexorably, if that's the right word. I hear that you're moving to New York City to live. Is this so?
Yes. This will be my home from now on. That is until I retire. And when I retire, I'm going to retire to Brooklyn.
Really? Why Brooklyn? Why Brooklyn?
Oh, that's my favorite place in the world so far that I've seen.
Sure enough.
I haven't traveled much, but I don't think I'll find anything to replace Brooklyn.
You're going to help our rating in Brooklyn about 9 points. Why is it Brooklyn? What happens there with you?
Well, almost everything. I just like walking around. I think the view's better from Brooklyn. You know, you can look back over and see Manhattan.
Yeah, that's the only place you can see Manhattan from.
That's the best view, but it isn't only the view. It's the people. It's, I like the streets. I guess the people and the streets and the atmosphere. I just like it.
Let me ask you about the singing thing for a little bit. Did you, who are your favorite people to hear sing modern music?
Well, my very favorite person, and I love her as a person as well as a singer. I think she's the greatest, and that's Ella Fitzgerald.
You fall right in the happy club. Who's your favorite man singer?
Well, frankly,
Yes.
I have to say Frank.
Yeah, that's it. It's as easy as that.
However, he didn't used to be. It's the way he sings now. I know when I was a kid in, you know, junior high school and high school, and he was sort of Bobby Sock's idol. Even though I was in Bobby Sox, he wasn't my idol. It isn't until recently. I think his whole style and, I don't know, there's something that's changed drastically.
He grew up big. He matured somehow. The sound that he makes now is such a big round.
Well, it's his style. To me, it's his style. When it comes to sound, I like Sammy Davis, too. But Frank's style, you can't beat it.
How long do you think you'll be at the top? You'll be at the top, I wonder.
At the top isn't so important. What I'd like to do, that is what I would like to accomplish. I would like to be a good actress. And it's not a matter of being on top, because I think some of the best actors and actresses perhaps aren't on the top. So that's not the thing.
I knew you were smart somehow.
No,
I had
I'm
heard
not.
so many times.
Don't let me fool you. I'm not.
Well, you haven't learned to say that because you say it just at the right time. So I know that I'm sure of what I mean. Everybody just came along. That the voice you hear over there is Marilyn Monroe, if you need to be told.
And this is Dave Garroway.
And they need to be told. Was there a point, one moment when your career went where it is instead of someplace else? Did you go through a revolving door and meet somebody?
Not actually. I modeled, and then I was under contract to Fox. They signed me. After 1 month, 5 magazine covers appeared, and they signed me. And then they dropped me after a year. I didn't have an opportunity to do anything, actually, during the year that I was there at 20th Century Fox the first time. Except one part in Scudda Who Scudda Hey, and I was cut out of it, so you can't exactly call that a chance to do anything.
I bet so many people think that that must be an ideal year with nothing to do, just sit and take the studio's checks, and really it's torture, isn't it?
It's very painful, because at least, although I knew I didn't know anything about acting, but I wanted to know, and I wanted to experience, but, well, that's how it is.
Do you keep a diary, by the way?
No.
Did you ever?
Well, not exactly a diary. Sometimes, when things used to happen, I used to write it down. But then, I used to tear it up.
Do you miss your anonymity? Do you miss being able to go out and not be recognized and go places so that, as it used to be before you became famous, so no one would pay any attention to you except...
I'll tell you. I do in a way. However, I'm terribly grateful for everything that's happened, because I remember when things weren't like this at all. But you do miss sometimes just being able to be completely yourself and someplace, and people just know you as another human being.
I don't think you could get away with the gag I use. I have a kind of a disguise, a mustache and some trick glasses, and I part my hair in the middle.
Oh, I use a wig sometimes.
Does it work?
It has.
Marilyn, if the house you have caught on fire, what material thing would you run for to save first?
Some books.
Which books?
I'd rather not say. It's very personal.
All right, that's
It's more than one book.
I knew you were smart all the time somehow. I'm just delighted to find it out for myself. Well, now, your success has been or close to it, the dream of every American girl, all right, I guess. After you got what you want, did you want it?
Well, as I say, the thing I like the most is to become a real actress. And I remember when I was a kid, sitting in the front row at the movies on Saturday afternoon. And I would never come out of the movie. They'd have to come and get me, I'd sit in the front row. And I'd think how wonderful it would be to be an actress and so forth. But I didn't really realize about acting, except I appreciated what I saw. Bad, good, it didn't matter. I enjoyed it very much, everything that I would see. Just anything that would move on the screen. However, I think I realize more and more the responsibility. And it is a responsibility, and as I say, I would like to be a good actress.
Well, I knew you were smart, like I said, all the time. I just want to thank you, girl, for coming in and making me confirm my own opinion, which I had from other people, but not to know myself in person. We'll unscramble that sentence during the following month. Good night, Marilyn.
Bye-bye. It's a pleasure meeting you.
You too.
Here. Wonderful. Oh, that's awfully close.
Awfully close?
Let's see, let's pull the table over. Frightening thing, This object here.
Well, not in microphone.
Okay. 5 came out in 1 month, and Howard Hughes had just had his aeroplane accident, remember? And he sent for them, and I went to 20th, where Ben Lyon was head of casting, and didn't I tell you that?
No.
Well, he came out, there was a long waiting on these hard benches. We were sitting out, people of all ages and sizes and everything. He came out, he says, "Who is this girl?" So he said, "I look so fresh and young," and I don't know what all. he was very enthusiastic. I mean, he said, he says, you had high hopes for me. Well, they made a Technicolor test the following day, which was unusual, but they sort of sneaked it in. All of them got together in the talent department, and they put me under contract, under a stock contract, for a year, and then I was dropped. And then I was hired at Columbia. Then when I was hired back after the Asphalt Jungle, the 20th Century Fox, Zanuck said, I understand you used to be here. I said, that's right. Well, things are quite different now. I said, and he said I had a three-dimensional quality having to do with sex. He says, quite reminiscent of Harlow. And it was interesting since Ben Lyon had been saying that. Oh, yes. Yeah. Because, I wanted my mother's maiden name because I felt that rightfully was my name. I couldn't take my father's name very well. So I wanted at least something that was related. So I said, I want the name Monroe, which was my mother's maiden name. And the true things rarely get into circulation. It's usually the false things. Yes, that's what she claimed. But as a friend of my husband says, he was one of our lesser presidents. Truly, I was at the Hollywood Studio Club, although they say that I wasn't. I was. I know. It was me. It happened to. Was I? It was me. It was I. It was all true. I was behind in the rent, and they usually let you get about a week behind in the rent. And since, they write me and they say, you're the only one who doesn't support this wonderful, wonderful. It's not so wonderful unless you're working and paying your rent. Tom Kelly had asked me, I had done some beer ads for beer for him, and he had asked me to pose nude. Actually, I'd be in a bathing suit or something like that. So he asked me to pose nude, and his wife, Natalie Kelly, she'd be in the dressing room, and I'd be getting dressed and changing, so she said to him, probably, she ought to do nudes or something. And then sometimes other photographers, Willinger had asked me, we won't put his name on it, had asked me, and I would say, I don't do, I'm sorry. And one time, Andre Dienes, I went on an interview, and he said, so you do nudes? I said, no, I don't do nudes, never. So I always went around saying never. And then I got so far behind the rent, 4 weeks, and I was in debt and everything. So I called up and I said, are you sure they won't recognize? He said, I promise. I said, well, if it's at night and you don't have any helpers, to put the lights in. I said, I don't know. I said, I'm shy and I don't want to expose myself to, all the people you have. Then I said, and at night. He said, all right, just Natalie and myself. So we did it. And that's all. He just spread out some red velvet and had me lie down on the red velvet. I thought, they'd put some kind of lotion on you or something. Nothing, just, it was very simple and drafty. Calendars? No, they've all been stolen. And I wanted to keep one for my grandchildren. But I can't keep them either. I don't know who takes them. If I get a copy and I pack it away, it'll be gone. Yes, by the time it was known, I had already done the Asphalt Jungle. I was hired at Fox, and I remember they called on the set, the publicity department, and they said something to the effect, did you pose for a calendar? And I said, yes. Anything wrong? There was great anxiety in their voices. Oh, don't say you did. Say you didn't. So I said, but I did. I signed the release, and I did, and I feel I should say it. So I did say that I did, and they were very unhappy about it. And then the cameraman who was working on the film at that time, he got a hold of one, and he asked me if I'd sign it. And so I said, yes, I would. I signed it, and I said, to him, and then his name, and I said, this isn't my best angle. And of course, they got madder, the studio. And they said, but you can't sign those. And I said, but it's me, and they'd rather have these than the other signs. If they're friends, I don't sign for strangers, but they're friends. Or some I said, do you like me better with long hair? Because the hair was down to here, my hair, before I did the actual jungle. Little by little, I think Fox got used to it.
Ja, du hungrar väl inte bara efter mat?
No, I was really hungry. To eat. When you live at the Hollywood Studio Club, you get 2 meals a day. You get breakfast and you get dinner. Of course, it doesn't taste very good, but still you eat. I always supported myself. I was never what you'd call, I don't know, how can I say it? No one else ever supported me in my life. In my older life, like... So I didn't. I had no family. And, I had no place to go just to have a roof over my head. Of course, a lot of people said, well, why didn't you go and get a job in a 10-cent store? Something like that. And because I didn't have a high school education, they wouldn't accept me. That's not true. Neither are true. My mother's first husband was named Baker. Her second husband was Mortensen, but she was long since divorced when I was born. So, on my birth certificate, I believe it says profession, Baker. So she was just trying to think quickly, I guess, and said Baker. Well, in all my school records, it was Norma Jean Baker. In fact, I was always told, by the way, when I was very young, that my father was killed in an automobile accident in New York before I was born. When I was very young, I was told that. Yes.
As regards your mother, to you she was just a woman with a red hair.
Actually, she was. You see, when I was very young, I called every woman I would see. I'd say, "Oh, there's a mama," and if I would see a man, I'd say, "There's a daddy," or "Papa," I guess you say in French. So, to learn that she was my mother was quite a shock. It was the woman with the red hair. The people I was staying with, I was about 3, and one morning I was having a bath, actually, and I referred to the woman as Mama, and she said, "I'm not your mother. The one who comes here with the red hair and so forth, she's your mother. Don't call me mother anymore. Call me Aunt so-and-so." But the one I was concerned was her husband. I says, "But he's my daddy." She said, "No. You call him Uncle so-and-so," although they weren't my aunt and uncle. I never lived with my mother. I don't know about the 12 days old. I don't remember, but I know I was very young.
Did you ever say that?
No. I used to ask where my mother was when I don't know, it was about... Well, when I was put in the orphan's home, and I refused to go into the orphan's home. I mean, I said, I saw the orphan, I could read at 10, orphan, and I put my feet down on the sidewalk, and they had to drag me in. I said, I'm not an orphan. And so, I thought, well, she's dead somewhere, and then later some people said, well, it's better you forget about your mother. I said, well, where's my mother? And I said, well, it's better you forget about her. She's dead. So I was told that. So whatever invented, I don't know what they mean by it. It was all kind of vague. You know, I couldn't find out anything for sure. I wasn't 8 because when I was 8, I remember where I had, when I had a birthday at 8 years old, and so I would still be 7, and my mother did buy a home, but I didn't see her very often. It was very, well, the circumstances very unhappy and kind of haphazard. I didn't see her very much. The English couple that I told you, they were the couple. They came to live there in the home, but we only had the home for about, maybe, I don't even think it was 3 months. With the English couple, they used to take me to the Egyptian, where they used to have monkeys in cages outside, and they'd put me there early in the morning, and I'd watch the monkeys. Or else they'd take me to the Grum's Chinese. I tried to fit my foot. My feet prints are there now, but I would try to, but they had these, what do you call those, high vamped.
Ja visst, Gloria Swanson on replik.
Yeah, and I never could get my feet in there. My feet were always too big. Every Saturday and Sunday, I was taken there because they worked during the week. They worked very hard, and they didn't want to be bothered with a child around the house, I think. You know, you can't blame them. They were very tired. And so I was taken there in the morning. I'd wait till the movie opened for 10 cents. I would go in, sit in the first row, and I watched all kinds of movies like Cleopatra with Claude Colbert. That I remembered very well. I'd sit there and I'd see it over and over and over and over again. Till late at night. I was supposed to come out at dark, but of course I didn't know when it was dark, just before dark, because with their conscience they didn't want me to come, at night, but I never knew when it was dark. And besides, it was much nicer there. Just seeing the movie over and over and over and over again.
Fick du någonting att äta?
No, it didn't matter. I knew I'd eat when I got home, eat something. Let's see, I don't think there was 12, but there were quite a few. Because I was going to stay with these people from New Orleans, and then suddenly I was taken to the orphan's home. Let's see, so counting the orphan's home. You want me to count all of them? I'll try, let's see. 3. You see, some places I lived, I was taken there at the end of the school term, and they were planning to keep me, but then after the summer they'd had enough, so, or for whatever reason, and then I was taken to another place, so that's why there's so many. I know I went to 6 different grammar schools. That's before you're in the 7th grade. But I'll try to recall. Let's see. I'm to 9 so far. Just a second. 10. But I moved back to a place where I had stayed. So that would make 11 different moves, but 10 counting the orphans home. 10 different places.
The time.
Oh, it's such a bright, cheerful place.
According to McCall.
I guess it is now. They've made a lot of improvements. I used to sit up in the window and cry because I'd look over and I'd see RKO, and I knew my mother had worked there and she'd been a cutter there, and all the kids were asleep. I used to sit up in the window and at night, and as I say, when everyone was asleep, and when I went there to work during Clash by Night, I stood there and I wanted to see back to see if I could see the orphanage, but you can't. It's too many sound stages in the way, and office buildings and homes. Oh, by the way, I slept in a room with 27 beds because they say some other number. I know when I read it. Because you had to work your way to the honor bed. You start with 1, well, really the 27th bed, and you had to work your way down and around, and then you could work yourself into the other dormitory, which had fewer beds. But I got there once, but once I was putting on my shoes, and the matron said, "Go downstairs, I'm tying my shoe." She says, "Back to the 27th bed." Well, we lived there. We all had jobs. I had different jobs. I worked for a while. Oh, we'd get up at 6 in the morning, and we did our work before we went to a public school. It's very, well, it's bad to have children from an institution like that go to a public school, because in the public school the kids say, "Oh, they're from the home. They're from the home." Orphans. And, you know, and you feel, I always tried to go around as if I were one of the other kids, you know, and we all were ashamed, you know, to have been from the orphan's home. Well, I was very tall and thin. I was taller than I was as tall as I am now. And very, very thin. At 11, things changed. But, and I never grew any taller, but they always said, "Oh, she's going to be a very tall girl." Oh, in fact, when I was first going, when I first went to the orphanage, and they pulled me in, you know, they took one arm here and they pulled me in, I kept crying, screaming, "I'm not an orphan." And then there was a dining room straight ahead, and there were these 100 kids sitting there eating at 5 o'clock. And then a child, you know, you're ashamed to cry in front of other children. So I stopped right away, and then the children filed out and went to the, they were sitting on the porch after dinner. They usually did that on the girls' side, and they all thought I was at least 14. I was so tall. They thought I was going to be in the ad girls. Whoever they were. Well, anything tasted good to me. I always, when I was a child, I ate everything, because the families that I lived with, they said they never saw a child who would eat everything. I'd eat anything. Everything. Oh, there was one other family I stayed with for a short time, but it was only for about 3 weeks. I forgot to mention. It makes 11. I liked singing, athletics, English. I hated arithmetic. I never had my mind on it. You know, I was always dreaming out the window. And then, too, another thing people would remark, not only that I would eat everything, but I never complained when I went to bed. I would even say, I think I'll go to bed now. They say, well, that's very unusual, because children, they say, no, I don't want to go to bed. But what I would do would be to go in my room and, except at the orphan's home, was different. But otherwise, I would go in my room, and if I had seen a movie, I would act out every part. Only I would act out before that happened, or after, and I would act out all the parts, the men as well as the women. That's what I'd be doing, you know, standing up on my bed, being taller, and even just the feeling, what he said and what she said and what he felt and she felt, and usually be sad.
How tall are you, Karen? 5'6"?
5'6", exactly. First time was at the orphanage, and then later in my teens I stuttered, and I was they elected me secretary of the English class. No, secretary of the minutes of the English class, whatever you call it. And then I say, minutes of the last meeting. Like a oh, it's terrible. When? I don't know. Let's see, I had the orphanage, and after I left, I guess, and then when I was about 13, I took it up again. It just, I don't know how it happened. I just stuttered. Sometimes if I'm very nervous or excited or something, I stutter. In fact, one time they were doing I had a small part in the movie, and the assistant director came in and yelled at me. Oh, he talked awful. And he, and so I, when I got into the scene, instead of my lines, I woo, 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 and the director came up, he was furious. He says, you don't stutter. I said, that's what you think. Oh, it's painful. Oh, God. Well, when I went to live with a woman, her name is Mrs. E. Period, Anna Lauer, and I used to do the dishes in the evening and whistling, and she said, I never heard a child sing so much. So I did it during that period. I liked being with her, staying with her. I always kept in touch with her. I loved her very dearly. And then I adored her. Well, they used to call me the mouse, because I never said anything, and I was quiet most of the time, except with other children. I had imagination. Other children liked to play with me because I could think of things. You know, I'd say, now we're going to have a murder, then a divorce, and then they say, how do you think like that? I don't know. So other children, you know, I could be myself with other children, but with grown-ups, I was always very quiet. Went around about doing my work, you know, whatever I had to do. Oh, no, okay.
How did that happen?
I don't want to say too much. Well, Grace arranged it. She and her husband were going to West Virginia, and they were going to put me in a home, or, you know, like I'd been before, or I could marry this boy who was 21 at the time. So I married. Oh, no. I was 15 turning 16. When marriage took place, I was just turned 16. In the state of California, you can marry at 16, a girl. But it was arranged when I was 15. No, not at all. Then he was drafted to go into the Army, but instead he went to the Merchant Marine. Yes, towards the end of the war, I divorced him. And I divorced him, no, I was 20. I went to Las Vegas to divorce him.
I don't know why.
If they let you do one, they let you do the other. Well, how does it feel being yourself? That's exactly how I feel. I don't know. One time a very wonderful director, Kazan, said I had no ambition. That was my problem, my trouble. But I would like very much to be a fine actress, a true actress, that's what I mean by fine, a real actress. I would like to be happy, but who's happy? I think trying to be happy is almost as difficult as trying to be a good actress. You have to work at both of them. Well, I think comedy is harder for me. I mean, it's just harder to act comedy, I think. For me, it seems that way. But I would like a variety of parts, you know. Dramatic, sometimes comedy. Not musical too much because I never studied it. I always wanted to, but I never did, and it's very difficult. And after you've finished it, they say, oh, you just did it like that, and really all you do is so much.
It looks so easy.
It looks easy. It looks like you just walk through it. And I've never studied that, either singing or dancing. Really. It is. It takes its toll. I think an artist, I consider myself becoming an artist, so you excuse me, some people will laugh. I don't apologize to you, but to them I apologize. Sometimes, you know, the work is so, you know, you try to be true, and you feel sometimes it's on the verge of a kind of craziness, but it isn't really craziness. It's really getting the truest part of yourself out, and it's very hard, you know. I mean, it's not easy, let's say. And yet it can be very simple at the same time. Being an artist, because sometimes you think, oh, well, all I have to be is true, but sometimes it doesn't come so easily. Well, I always have a secret feeling that I'm really a fake or something, or phony, or you know how people feel about themselves. They have something secret they feel about themselves. I always feel that. I know my teacher says, why do you feel that about yourself? And then he starts to say, but you're a human being. I said, yes, I am. I said, but I feel like I have to be more. He says, no. He says, you start with yourself, Lee Strasberg. I think probably he changed my life more than any other human being that I've met, including everyone. Because when I started to work with him, I would sort of assume something. And he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I have to get into the part. He says, no, but you're a human being, so you start with yourself. I said, but with me? He said, yes, with you. So, in a way, if you can concentrate correctly, I don't mean deep thinking where you know, pounding the skull, but if you can just concentrate simply, that's what I mean about being easy. Anyway, he helped me a great deal. I have a hard time at it. I don't know. I might leave something out, but I won't put anything else in extra. I might leave something out because to my benefit or somebody else's benefit, hurt people or hurt myself sometimes, you know. We all want to protect ourselves also. So I might leave something out, but I don't think I'd... no, I don't think I lie. At least if I would try, it's difficult. But I do want to be wonderful. You know, when I walked out of 20th Century Fox and I went to New York and I stayed for I don't know how many months, 15 months, 13 months, I don't know how many months. And the lawyer, you know, he said, he was telling me about my tax deductions, my I don't know what, and about, lawyer for 20th Century Fox. And I said, I don't know about that. I only know I want to be wonderful. Because you say that to a corporation lawyer, he thinks you're mad. And that's at the bottom of everything, you know, that I do want.
People were making them up. It's not true. There was nobody there that was smart.
They never made them up.
And they were often more advanced by them, horrified.
Yeah, like, well, you know, they ask you questions like, just an example, what do you wear to bed? You wear a pajama top, the bottoms of the pajamas, or the nightgown, or what kind of... So I said, Chanel No. 5, because it's the truth. And yet I don't want to say nude, you know, but it's the truth. Or, I don't know, all of those things come from the truth. If you ever get any of those things you want to ask, what does it mean, I'll tell you where the truth comes from, or what it does mean. Because as I say, I leave things out. I don't elaborate sometimes. But it'll be from the truth. Because otherwise it's hard to know where to start if you don't start with the truth. Okay, here I get up early in the morning. I jump into my clothes, get my belongings together, get in the car, and I have a driver. He brings me to the studio. Then I have somebody waiting here who makes my breakfast. Then they start with the hair and the makeup, and I eat while they're doing my hair. And then they leave it that way while the makeup man, he comes in, he does the makeup. And then they comb out the hair later. And they put on the body makeup and then the clothes. I don't like to rush this process because I find if I rush, I'm very tired. By the time I have to do a scene, I'm all worn out from rushing through the hair and the makeup and the clothes. So I like to do it leisurely, like I like to dress when I go out in the evening. I love to dress leisurely. I like to soak in the tub, then leisurely. I like music. I think that we're rushing too much nowadays. That's why people get nervous. Well, I don't think I'm late all the time, but maybe it is because I can't go as fast as other people. You know, people that get in automobiles, they run into each other because they never stop. They're going like that, and I don't think that mankind, it's intended for them to go like that. They're not supposed to be like machines. And I think you get more done the other way, by doing it more sensibly, more leisurely. Mr. Cukor on this film has been very wonderful to me, in as much as he lets me come in an hour later than I would usually come in. So it helps because I'm
fresher at the end of the day. It helps. He says he does it for my work, and I think it's so. I think actors in movies work too long hours. The hours are too long. Always, nearly always. Sometimes I feel a doom set over me. Just as I'm walking on the stage, it's just like a doom sets on me. I don't know why, but I get over it sometimes. Sometimes it lasts all day. I want to do my best, the best that I can do in that moment. When the camera starts until it stops. That moment I want to be perfect. As perfect as I can make it. I used to go to movies on Saturday night when, for instance, when I worked in a factory, and that was my only time that I could enjoy myself, really, that I really relaxed and enjoyed. And this is on tape. We're trying to think. Excuse us. And so I used to be very disappointed if I went to a movie, because I waited all week to go to the movie. And I worked hard for the money that I spent. And if I went to a movie and it was a bad movie, or I thought people didn't do their best, kind of did it sloppy or something, I really was mad, angry when I left, because then I didn't have anything to go on for a whole week. I'd wait for another week. So I always feel that I work for the ones who work hard, and they go to the box office and put down their money and they want to be entertained, or I always feel I do it for them. But I do care because I know how the others feel. They worked hard all week. And my favorite stars then? Oh, I liked anybody who was good. Sometimes they'd be good, sometimes they wouldn't, depends. Oh, well, that was when I was very small. That's when I was 7 years old. When I was 7 years old, my favorite was Jean Harlow. And the reason why she was my favorite, because she had white hair, and I had white hair. And they used to call me towhead. I don't know how you'd say it in French, but it was white hair instead. And I dreamed of having golden hair, but instead mine was white. And so when she had white hair, I felt sort of close to her, because she had white hair, I had white hair. And Clark Gable, I'm sure he won't mind if I say it, because in a Freudian sense, it's supposed to be very good. I used to always think of him as my father. I pretended that he was my father. I never pretended anyone was my mother. I don't know why. But I always pretended he was my father. I was just 7 years old, and he was a very young man, and I thought that's how I wanted my father to look. Love? I think it's a rare thing, and not to be discounted at all, not to be pushed away in a corner. I find that's why I like poetry, I think, also. They don't discount it. They take it for its worth, its value. It's one of the most important things that ever happens to us. I think the most important thing. I think love and work are the only things that really happen to us. And everything else is just, doesn't really matter. And I think one without the other isn't so good. I think they both need, I don't know. I'm only 34, I have a few years to go yet. But I think it's, I think it's the most important thing. Because even work is a kind of love. It's something that you love to do. Even workers, factory workers, I used to take a pride in the way that I would do it. Even though I did it very fast, I would take a pride in the fact that I would do it exactly perfect as I could, you know. So I think that, well, I guess I'm a little impetuous. Paula says. Exclusive. I think I am, because I have very few friends, but not to be exclusive. It's just that I like people, but for friends, I like few people. A few people, I guess you call it.
Jordan Matthew.
Well, I met him the year he retired. He had already retired. And I saw him for about a year and a half, 2 years, and we married in San Francisco. And his background, you know, his family, they were immigrants, and they had a very difficult time. And when he was young, he had a very difficult time. The other thing, he was a wonderful athlete, and he could hit a baseball. Anything thrown his direction, he could hit. So he understood some things about me, and I understood some things about him, and we based our marriage on it. And I say some things. Well, I don't want to say that. I just say we understood some things about each other. He has a very sensitive nature in many respects. You know, one thinks of an athlete as being, I don't know, not having that, but they do. Our marriage wasn't a happy one. It ended in 9 months, unfortunately. I don't know what else to say. Do I feel happy in life? Let's see. Let's say I hope I'm finding happiness. All right? Well, for me, if I can realize certain things in my work, I come the closest to being happy, and I can say that also about my life. Well, it only happens, I think, in moments, sometimes when I'm working, and I'll be able to fulfill a scene truthfully, and then I think I'm the happiest. Well, I find it very stimulating to keep studying and working, but I'm not just generally happy. If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable. I don't know. Sometimes, I think.
You like?
I don't know. I think sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Which is natural, I guess, for everyone. I would like to be more sociable than I am. On some days. Well, sometimes I'll chat when I'm not pleased, but sometimes the work itself requires more that I'm quiet and to myself more. And other days, like doing a musical number, I try not to get too, I like to be more outgoing because that's what I have to express, and so I try to keep it general. I try to. Even if I feel like it or not, I'll try to make the effort to make contact with people around me. Yes, because I could easily be alone. It doesn't bother me to be alone. Some people I know, they don't like to be alone. I don't mind it. I need it as a rest and it kind of refreshes myself. Yeah. And a rest. Yes, I think there's two things in human beings that they, as I think there is in myself, that they want to be alone, but they also want to be together. You know? Because I think I have also a gay side to me, also a sad side. And I think that's the way with people also.
Yes.
But there is something in people where they need solitude for a while. Yes, it was. He came with Elia Kazan on the set of a picture called Young as You Feel. And as he describes it, I was crying when he met me. A friend of mine had died, and anyway, Kazan came over and he said he was very sorry. And I burst into tears, so he had Arthur with him, and so even though I was in tears, he introduced me to Arthur. So I'd forgotten, but he said I was crying when I, in tears, weeping, when he met me. Then I didn't see him for about 4 years. I used to think that maybe he might see me in a movie. For instance, there would be 2 pictures playing. They used to have it. I thought I might be in the other movie. He'd see me and I'd want to do my best. Because he said that he thought that I should act on the stage. And people who were around heard him say it. They laughed. But he said, no, I'm very serious.
At that time, I mean.
That was in 1950.
In 1950.
Does one ever know that? I mean, I know certain qualities that I remembered at the time, but I don't know exactly what... I think that's mysterious. No, I can't say he gave me a feeling of security. There wasn't any reason for him to, really, except he treated me as a human being, and he was a very sensitive human being, and treated me as a sensitive person also. I don't know how to describe it.
No, of course it's very difficult.
We'll bring you Act 3 of Kitty, starring Paulette Goddard and Patrick Knowles in a moment. You might say that our guest tonight was discovered by the Army. I mean Army public relations officers who asked her to appear in Army motion pictures. After that, it didn't take long for 20th Century Fox to find and sign blonde and blue-eyed Marilyn Monroe. I understand you passed a Technicolor screen test with honors, Marilyn.
Well, I'm not superstitious, Mr. Keasley, but in this case, I think I was lucky.
How do you mean, lucky?
Well, the film they used was left over from the shooting of Betty Grable's new picture for 20th Century Fox, The Shocking Miss Pilgrim.
I see. And did you meet Betty Grable herself?
Oh, yes. And how we laughed about her wardrobe for the picture.
Well, correct office clothes for 1874 were a little enveloping.
Especially the petticoats and pantalettes Betty had to wear in The Shocking Miss Pilgrim. They had yards and yards of ruffles and ribbon. Imagine doing all that washing.
And no Lux Flakes to do it with in those days.
Why, that's right, Mr. Kennedy. It's a good thing Betty didn't have to live her role. If she had to take care of all those undies herself, she wouldn't have had much time for romancing the way she does with Dick Haymes in the picture. I thank my lucky stars I'm a career girl of the Lux era.
Lux helps a lot, doesn't it?
That's right, Mr. Kennedy. It's my standby.
And that of thousands of other girls, Miss Monroe. You know, women have been telling us for years how lovely their lingerie stays with Lux Care. But, of course, they couldn't measure how much longer colors stay fresh. So we had an independent laboratory make actual washing tests with identical slips and nightgowns. Those washed the wrong way faded quickly. In many cases, the shoulder straps frayed and seams burst. But those that were washed the Lux way stayed lovely 3 times as long.
Any girl would rather have pretty undies than faded ones.
She can have more pretty ones, too, the Lux way. Instead of replacing drab, faded underthings so often, she can buy extra ones without spending a cent more. Have 3 times as many. I leave it to you ladies. Isn't Lux an easy way to have more pretty undies? Thank you for coming tonight, Miss Marilyn Monroe. Back now to your producer, William Keeley.
For the life of us, we couldn't find the complete Marilyn Monroe interview, which we did about 4 years ago, I guess. We only managed to find 2 short portions of the interview that we did with Marilyn out at 20th Century Fox. And at that time, she was making the picture Let's Make Love with Eve Montana and Tony Randall. And she came into the room in a beautiful slack outfit. I thought,
I rehearsed in it.
Is this a dance outfit thing that you do?
No, it's just a pair of slacks and sort of an old sweater.
That's a nice old sweater. A nice old pair of slacks.
Are we on, Bob?
Yes.
Well, I've been rehearsing all day.
Yeah.
I'm still out of breath.
All right, I'll let you get your breath for just a minute there. Marilyn, I've often wondered, being the sex symbol of the movies, are you ever offended when men pass by and whistle and things like that?
I'm honored.
Really?
Of course.
Do you think most women are?
Of course.
That's the high point of... is that a big compliment?
Yes. Well, how about when you whistle at a girl or you feel like whistling?
How was Jack Lemmon to work with?
Wonderful. He's a wonderful actor.
He's a very funny guy. You're working with a funny guy in the new picture, Tony Randall.
Yes, very funny.
You want to know something? This will knock you back on the back of the couch here. I was supposed to test for this picture.
Hmm?
Did you mean that with all that was inferred by the you? I read a lot into the line. No, really, the part that they finally gave to Tony Randall. The press agent part.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, Bob, it's nice meeting you, and hope I see you again.
Oh, dear. The late Marilyn Monroe, in an interview we did at 20th Century Fox, for which we want to thank another gentleman who has since passed away. He was one of the first people we met in coming to the coast here 8 years ago, was the late Jerry Wald.
On separate honeymoons. Oh, Charlie, all I'm trying to tell you is what I'm trying to explain to you. I don't know what you're trying to...
Charlie!
Oh, Marilyn Monroe!
I'm here!
Oh, and you look beautiful.
I'm wearing my wedding dress.
Yeah.
Something borrowed.
Yeah, you didn't borrow enough.
We'll be so happy. I can see it now.
Yeah.
You and I by the fireplace, and the kettle whistling.
Oh, who can blame us?
Charlie, would you mind if I kept on working?
Well, now, Marilyn, let's get this straight. I wear the pants in this family.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I make around $50,000 a year.
Oh, you do? Well, now, you might look good in slacks.
Yeah, that's settled.
Where's Marilyn Monroe? I'm from Look.
Look magazine?
No, I just want to look.
And now, folks, comes the real special part of our program, the happy time when we introduce our guest star. Of course, tonight it's especially happy because we have Marilyn Monroe. As I told you, Jerry doesn't know about it, so it's going to be a complete surprise. And, here comes Jerry.
Dean, who is it, Dean? Who? Our guest, Dean, who? Is it? Guest our who?
Well, I'll give you a hint. If I were an artist, I'd like to do her in oil.
You'd like to do her in oil?
Yeah, now who's our guest star?
Sardine?
Oh, shut up. Look, you take the most beautiful legs in the world, the most beautiful figure in the world, and the most beautiful face in the world, and put them all together. Now, what you got?
The ugliest woman in the world.
How come?
You got me so excited I put everything in the wrong place.
Well, this girl has everything in the right place. Jerry, every once in a while, a meteor flashes through the skies and falls into the ocean. Fortunately for us, the ball of fire we have as our guest missed the ocean and landed at 20th Century Fox. So, I give you the two most exciting words in the modern dictionary. Marilyn Monroe.
Thanks, Dean. That was a very flattering introduction.
Well, you deserve it, Miss Monroe.
Dean, look at your script. It's Monroe.
I'm looking at you, it's Monroe. Right, Jer?
Zippity-doo-dah-dee-dee-dardy. Get a load of the dress she's wearing, Dean. 2 armholes loosely tied together. Wowee, what a dress.
Oh, it's nothing much. Just something I threw on.
You almost missed, didn't you?
Yeah.
Gee, thanks, boys. Do you really think this gown does something for me?
Yeah. Well, it does a lot more for us. What is it made of? Silk?
As a matter of fact, it's just plain cotton.
Cotton? I see more cotton on the top of a bottle of aspirin.
I'd better talk to the wardrobe mistress about this dress. It's so tight, I nearly wore myself out putting it on.
Poor girl. Are you all in?
Gosh. Well, gosh, I hope so.
Gee, Miss Monroe, Dean and I saw your last picture in Niagara. It was a darb, a positive darb.
What was the audience reaction to the picture in the theater?
So after your first scene, they served the Hershey bars in Dixie cups.
Dean.
Yes?
You better concentrate on the script.
It's your turn.
Oh. We had a cocktail party at my house with a bartender and everything, and we showed home movies of your picture, Miss Monroe.
Now, you're not going to tell me that when I came on the screen that the ice and the drinks melted.
Oh, no, that would be silly. The bartender melted.
Oh, you fellas are just kidding.
Remember the scene where you were kissing your boyfriend?
Yes.
Right in the middle, my canary threw himself at the cat. Miss Monroe, if you go out with me after the show, I'll buy you a bottle of perfume.
You're wasting your time, dear. Marilyn would rather go out with somebody like me.
That's right. I'm a blonde, and I like to go out with tall, dark, handsome men. You see, opposites attract.
Then you'll love me. I'm just the opposite.
Look, Jerry, you're a man, and I'm a woman.
Now that we've chosen up sides, let's play.
Won't you give up, Jer? Marilyn prefers me. I've gone out with women who wouldn't even look at you.
So what? I've gone out with women who wouldn't look at me either.
Okay, Jerry. Supposing I do go out with you. What'll we do?
Well, we get in my car and drive up Lookout Mountain. And when we get to the top...
Yes?
Look out!
No, Jerry. If I went out with you, it might get into the newspaper. And you know how some newspapers will do anything for a story.
Well, we do know about that type of newspaper, Marilyn, but we can paint a better picture if we dramatize it. So, Fenneman, start dramatizing.
The Chesterfield Buy 'em by the Carton Players present Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, and Marilyn Monroe in a dramatic newspaper yarn. It's the story of a cold-blooded newspaper editor who has no friends, but who is loved by Marilyn Monroe, entitled... So who needs friends?
You know? Yes, this is the morning hangover. Editor Lewis speaking. What? Just a minute. I'll get the press room.
Hello, press room. What is it, Chief?
Quick, tear out the front page.
Why?
My mother just bought a new garbage pail, and she needs something to line it with.
Hello, Chief. Tell me, baby doll, what's cooking?
I am. Get off my lap.
I've got a headline for you, Chief.
Noted doctor advocates fish breeding for a hobby.
Too long. Cut it down.
What'll I say?
Surgeon, urgent, sturgeon, merging. Come on, baby. Give us a kiss.
Editor Lewis, I'm the publisher of this paper, and I'm not paying you to kiss our star reporter. Spending all your time kissing her doesn't increase our circulation.
But it increases mine.
I can explain, Publisher Martin. I just came in to show him the wardrobe I'm going to take along on my vacation. This is my hunting outfit.
Hunting outfit? But that's a strapless, backless gown. You don't know your clothes.
You don't know what I'm hunting.
I should have known better than to hire a woman reporter.
Just a minute, sir. I'm a newspaper man. I'm not a woman.
You're not? I think we've got a scoop.
I mean, while I'm on this paper, I don't want to be thought of as a woman. I want to be thought of as a man.
Okay, but I hope we get adjoining lockers at the Y.
Yellow! Morning hangover.
Hello, Chief. You remember Detroit Danny?
You mean a gangster who was almost beaten to death last week with a bag of wet chicken livers?
Yeah, well, he was shot to death. And I found a slug.
That slug is evidence. Bring it right over here.
I can't. I used it to make this phone call.
I know how Detroit Danny got knocked off. He was trying to blackmail Eskimo Eddie.
Chief, if you print that story, Eddie will kill you. And I'll be alone.
Want to bet?
Chief, darling, don't do it. Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me.
Ah, stop your nagging.
I don't want you to get killed. I'm a woman, and I want loving arms around me.
Don't worry, if I'm killed, somebody will come along tomorrow.
Yeah, but what am I going to do tonight? I don't want you murdered. Give up your job, and I'll marry you.
But what other work could I get?
Well, don't worry about it, kids. You're young. You can always live on love.
Yes. Give up your job, and we'll have kisses for breakfast, kisses for lunch, kisses for supper.
Gosh, kisses for breakfast, kisses for lunch, kisses for supper. Okay, it's a deal, baby. But I'm warning you.
About what?
Don't ever let me catch you having any meals out.
You said one thing about the in-between moments. I'm going to do a thing, and I've been working on it practically for years now. What happens, when they fade out on a scene in movies, and then they fade up in the morning? All they show you is a big ashtray full of cigarettes,
Yeah.
That's all they show you. But let's see.
And a rumpled tie.
That's right. Or a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
But I would like to show these moments, the in-between moments, of what happens between. They just fade out. The guy is. They just give him a message. The dog was run over. Your son is up on. Is locked up or this or that. And then this night has to pass, where nothing can be done, and the night has to pass.
I'm thinking of something that's a little more fun than what you're thinking about. I don't quite understand what you mean.
The time that elapses.
Yeah.
In between.
Generally speaking.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's hygienically cut out.
Yeah.
And it's not. They don't show you this. This is what you don't have to go through. But in life, you do have to go through it.
I think that the American audiences aren't really up to waiting. They don't care. I don't think that American audiences really have, developed a level of sophistication whereby they can appreciate it.
Oh, I think they have.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Well, but then how do you explain the fact that most foreign films don't go here, and if they make a foreign film, for instance, that really is, for instance, in a French film, it shows a picture of a guy getting up in the morning, he yawns, he brushes his teeth, he looks in the mirror for half an hour, stares at his nose, and picks his scalp, then stares at the drain and turns around and goes out and sits down and he watches me to breakfast and fish some of the seeds out of the orange juice, or roll the bread up into little balls and throw it out the window, and then they take him downstairs to the office, and they follow him through the door and downstairs and in the taxi and in the other door. And Americans have just simply, cut right along.
Look, we have the most
that's what I was saying.
movie star in America today. Excuse me, Marlon Brando.
I'm going to give it a phone.
Marilyn Monroe, sitting there listening to you two, Sid Caesar and Marlon listening, and I have a feeling that she has something she can add about all this. Or were you able to hear their very serious conversation?
Yes, very interesting conversation. I enjoyed the picture immensely. And I think her performance was marvelous.
You've been working at the Actors Studio now as an actress, actually, Marilyn, or are you still an observer there?
I'm an observer student at the Actors Studio.
She's an actress.
All right, that's
and
Marlon.
besides that, she's late tonight.
She was late, what?
She was late. She was supposed to be an usher, and she only served one person.
The traffic was terrible.
Huh?
The
She
traffic.
was terrible. I'll grant you that.
Marilyn, I've heard from Marlon and from other people who have worked at the Actors Studio that it's awfully good to keep acting, to keep performing and learning, and that at the Actors Studio, under Lee Strasberg's direction, you have a chance to play and develop maybe a role that you'd never have a chance to do on screen or on stage. Is there any one part that you're working on there?
Let's see. Yes, I'm going to do a scene with Maureen Stapleton shortly, who played, in a rose tattoo on the stage.
On Broadway, yes.
What are you going to do?
We're doing Noel Coward's Fallen Angel.
Fallen Angel?
Yes.
I don't know that play.
Are these the sort of things that you would like eventually to do on stage or on screen, or are you just doing it to develop as an actress, Marilyn?
Yes.
What? Huh?
What do you like, man? I'm listening to people.
So Marlon explained on the air last week that you were taking it very seriously and that you were really working at it.
Yes, I am working with Lee Strasberg, also in his private classes.
She's working hard at it. It's hard to, kind of say, I'm working hard at it and I'm really...
Well, I'd like to know what she does. What do you do at the Actors Studio? I've never been there. I've just heard about it. Do you go every day? Do you go regularly? Or do you work on a part alone and then go?
At the studio, I go twice a week. And to Lee's classes, the class that I participate in, I go twice a week also. And I also go to his other classes to observe.
You do improvisation, don't you? That's what we worked on when we went to.
Yes.
When we were in class. What improvisation have you done?
I did James Joyce's Ulysses, part of Molly Bloom.
You improvised that?
Yes.
On the way, you improvised James Joyce. No, but I mean, doesn't Lee have you, get up and do little scenes? Doesn't Lee have you get up and do improvisations that you create yourself?
Well,
like you got your foot caught in a subway grating and somebody comes up and says, "Can I help you?" And you're hurrying to the dentist and, your faulty platter out and, Don't you do those things up there?
Mostly I've been doing acting exercises on the stage, which I won't go into.
I mean, scenes.
And also exercises. I don't mean lifting weights or something.
Have you done the one where you're in a barnyard?
I haven't done that one yet.
Huh? Did you do any animal improvisation?
Yes, I'm working on a cat.
You are?
Yes.
I'm working on a tree.
Wait a minute.
I haven't made it yet, but I think
Marlon,
it's an elm.
explain what that is when the one about the barnyard. What is that? Is
I
that
never
really?
understood it. They said you're a chicken and horse declared, and then left me alone.
And you have to improvise from there?
Your guess is as good as mine. No, actually, I don't know.
What is the method that I've read about and heard about that has to do with the technique at the Actors Studio? What is the method that they talk about?
Well, that's what 50 million actors would like to know, too. Yeah. It's an age-old argument, and you could spend 12 hours in Walgreens drugstore arguing about that. Stanislavski wrote several long tomes on the subject. Did you hear me say toems instead of tomes? Anyhow, it would really be, I think that, No, it's impossible to really be... Well, listen, Marilyn, get your licks in here, girl. You tell us, Marilyn.
Yes, you explain the method. What is it? Is it a different type of acting? Is it a different technique?
Well, I think it started with Stanislavski, but many people have added to it, and
subtracted from
Well,
it.
Boleslavsky was a very good bowler. He was a tremendous actor in bowling, but he used to watch the pins go down, and as the pins go down, he would, tell people, form a formation of pins. Then he would roll the ball, and then it would fall down as a pin.
I'm with you.
And once you get past the pin stage, that's when acting is just what you are, It just comes out. That's what it is. And nobody can, I believe in teaching and things like that, but it mostly has to come from the individual itself.
Marilyn, had you ever studied acting before going to the actor studio?
yes, but not in this way.
Just acting on a part that you were going to do on screen, you mean?
Yes, but...
Mom, the first time... No,
go ahead.
The first time I ever saw Mom, I was in the Coast Guard. I went to see a play. I was in the Coast Guard.
Oh.
And I bought tickets to see a play called I Remember Mama.
I Remember Mumble?
I Remember Mama.
Oh.
And you played the part of a little Swedish boy, and I thought it was just so great. And I wasn't in the acting business, and I was a musician. But I wasn't a musician in the Coast Guard.
What did you play?
I played saxophone, clarinet, flute, played with Claude Thornhill, Sheffield. What was the trumpet player? Charlie Spivak.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I played since I was 15.
Have you ever seen Sid Caesar's impersonation of, not you, Marlon, but Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire? He's done that on television a couple of times,
Well,
and I roared with laughter. I thought, as a matter of fact, I saw Max showed it to me one day. I went out to the office, and he put it on.
I tell you, they wanted me to do an impression of Marlon several times, which I would never do, because I respect him as I think one of the greatest young actors.
But it's a big boot.
No, but I'll only do it, if it's the right thing. Not just to do it just for that, We had an idea once, which I was going to call, Marilyn, you look so beautiful.
You're so nice.
Thank you. But we were going to do a French version of On the Waterfront. A short one, about 10 minutes long. A French model, which would have been great. And I watched it. We didn't do it yet. I don't know if we'll do it or not.
Listen, did you ever think of playing a series part, a straight part?
Well, I've talked a lot about it, but I'm not an actor.
No, listen, I think that it is because you are an actor that you are as good as you are. Because I think that all your performances really have a basis in reality. I think go ahead.
You have to. Even in comedy, which is not ridiculous, which doesn't sound ridiculous, because even in comedy, people know if you believe in what you're doing. And as soon as they sense, bang, like that, they don't believe anymore, you can stand on your head with your eyes folded and your nose crossed, and you'll not get a laugh. But if they believe that you believe in what you're doing, no matter how silly it is, if it's a half-truth, even if it's a half-truth, if they know that you believe it, they'll respect your belief in it, and they'll go along with you. But once they sense it, there's a sense between an audience and a performer, that once that feeling, that rapport, that I can't explain it, but once they find out, it's like an animal almost. An animal knows when you're afraid of them, and an animal knows when you're not afraid of them. But as soon as they feel it, and the audience is not with you anymore, and there's nothing you can do to get them back. But as long as they believe that you believe in what you're doing, they'll give you the respect and watch you, and they'll go along with you. Then it's up to you how good you are.
Sid Caesar, Marlon Brando, and Marilyn Monroe. Wait 1 minute. Let them go. Just 1 second. Goodbye, Marlon. Thank you very much. And Sid, goodbye. Marilyn, before they whisk you away from here, have you decided, are you going to make Bus Stop on screen?
Well, when and if it's worked out, I would like to, but that depends.
And what about doing a play? I've read that you really are serious about doing a play on Broadway. Are you thinking about that? Is that often in the distant future, or is it something you'd like to do very soon?
Well, it's most certainly in the distant future, but I would like to. One time I hope to be able to.
Do you know who this is right over there? Have you ever met
Yes,
Miss
we have
Helen
met.
Hayes?
Yes.
The first lady of the American theater.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, dear. We met the other day at the Actors Studio, didn't we?
That's right.
We're both observers.
Well, you can observe this lady and learn, I suppose, everything there is to know about the theater, who this year is celebrating her 50th anniversary, believe it or not, on the stage. With a great, great party, the first night ball at the Waldorf in the Grand Ballroom of the night of December 30th. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Nice to see you again here at the Actors Studio benefit. We'll see you inside later.
Nice to see you.
Tex, I don't know what's happening. There are photographers all around, and I can't see a clock. What is the schedule? All right, why don't you sit down at the mic now for a moment, would you? Okay? We've had great activity here for the last 45 minutes, as you may have heard, and I never had as many people helping interview guests as we had when Sid Caesar and Marlon Brando and Tennessee Williams and Marilyn Monroe were sort of asking questions of each other, which was fun. But I couldn't see a clock, so Tex, you help me get organized, will you?